Hey, welcome to this week's Q&A. I didn't really get a lot of questions. I traveled this weekend, and so I wasn't very interactive with people. I did get one just a minute ago about caffeine. So if you haven't seen it, hopefully you have. Dr. Rita Marie had a workshop one day last week on caffeine and estrogen, and how if you have certain genetics, you may have issues detoxifying caffeine, and your body will choose to detoxify the caffeine over estrogen and over breaking down hormones. And so that can lead to things like estrogen dominance. And so the question today was specifically, what about things like matcha or cacao or other things that do contain caffeine? Is there a difference in between that and coffee? And yes and no. For one, first of all, it's an excellent question. For one, caffeine is caffeine. It's the same chemical regardless. But number two, when we look at the ingredients, where the caffeine's coming from, if you're looking at caffeine in coffee, that is very acidic and harmful for the body. Well, if you have trouble processing caffeine and you're putting in this acidic product at the same time, that would be a no-no, right? We don't want to do that. Now, I have the CYP genes. I do have estrogen-related cancers in my family. I know I shouldn't have coffee, and I had coffee this weekend. It's something that I try really not hard not to do, but for some reason, when I go on vacation, where I stay, they have a Keurig that is just all ready. It's not even the kind you have to wait for. It's right there. So not only is it coffee, it's plastic. And so I don't know why I do that. I need to get serious, right? So anyway, if you have those certain genes, you don't want to have any caffeine. However, things like green tea, matcha tea, which is a green tea, things like that are very high in antioxidants and have other helpful benefits. Sometimes we have to weigh, maybe not having any coffee, or maybe you drink a lot of coffee and you would like to transition to green tea or a matcha tea, then that may be a better option for you. And not drinking green tea all day and not having caffeinated products all day, but because you're going to have those helpful benefits. The green tea, very beneficial, very high in antioxidants, the coffee, no. And so you have to just weigh those options for you. Last week, I talked a lot about protein. The response from the email was fabulous. Thank you so much. For all of you, if you missed it, you can go back and watch last week's live. If you're on YouTube, it will be from last Sunday. But that was a lot of fun. I will be writing about protein for the month of May in the newsletter. I was going to talk about protein today. I really don't have anything prepared. So then I thought, well, what is something that we all have in common, and that is our food. What are things that we can do to take care of our body when it comes to eating healthfully? If you want to prevent a chronic condition, or you're trying to recover from a chronic condition, there are some certain things that are key no matter what. One is green vegetables. Most of us, especially here in America, do not eat our green vegetables. So any way you can incorporate, greens in any manner is best. I prefer greens 3 times a day. Greens in your smoothie bowl or a fruit bowl. Fruit bowl might not be best for many of you have sugar with glycemic issues, blood sugar balancing. And so watch your fruits. Fruits in a salad or a soup, greens. I am really just out of the sorts today. Greens 3 times a day. Any way you can get them in is excellent for you. What are some other things you can do? And they don't have to be raw. Eat them steamed. Some steamed asparagus, some steamed broccoli. Any of those things would be great. And target to have some raw, because we want those enzymes that are in there. That we need enzymes for all of our different body processes. We're missing an enzyme, something's not happening. And so we want to make sure that we do have some raw foods. If you do have a very fast transit time, maybe you have some kind of inflammation, irritable bowel, something like that, then more steamed than cooked is usually best. So any way that you can start getting greens in is great. I like green juices. I like green smoothies. Right now, I am having very little greens in my breakfast, actually. I need to start adding some more of that. Commit to a raw salad every day. That's something I never thought that I would be able to do. I remember reading Joel Fuhrman's book, Eat to Live, maybe 20 13, 14. And I thought there's no way I could eat a salad every day. I really didn't like salads. You just need to make them exciting. Lots of different vegetables, add in some seeds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds. You want something crunchy, you want something sweet, not something with sugar. Carrots are sweet, bell peppers are sweet. Something salty, that could be the nuts, or that could be the dressing, something like with some vinegar or some lemon to give you that tart flavor, and sprinkle on some sea vegetables or something to give you that umami flavor. You want all the taste profiles, all the different colors, because we see it, we want it to look appetizing too. Crunchy, different textures, and whatever you can do. Just Google rainbow salad. I have plenty on my YouTube channel. If you just put in rainbow salad or everyday salad, holistic gen, that'll pop up. So if you can commit to a salad a day, that would be excellent, because it not only is it great fiber, lots of antioxidants and phytonutrients, and lots of greens. So another thing that I think is really important if you are trying to eat for health, is to get rid of dairy. Dairy is very, very inflammatory. Here in the US, it is always pasteurized. Here in Georgia, it is illegal to sell or buy for human consumption unless it's been pasteurized. Once it's pasteurized, those proteins are congealed. It's just very inflammatory. It's just missing all those probiotics. There's really nothing healthy in the dairy for you. And people will say, well, I need it for my calcium, I need it for my bones. And there are plenty of other foods out there that are high in minerals that are great for your bones without the inflammation. If you read in my article last week, I wrote about that, how you actually create more acid and actually use up more calcium when you consume dairy. So if you can't give up anything, Dr. Schultz said this, and I agree, you need to remove the dairy. After dairy, definitely red meats and processed meats. They are class 1 and 2 carcinogens. That was backwards. But either way, they both are linked to cancer. Processed meats, that would be hot dogs, that would be bacon, that would be ham. Those are processed foods. Deli meats, there is a cancer link. You might as well smoke cigarettes if you're going to be eating these processed meats. Don't eat them. Red meat, same thing. If you really struggling with red meat, I know a lot of you local raise your own cows, and things like that. Make sure that if you do buy it, make sure that it is grass finished. A lot of times these animals are raised on pastures, grasses, but then they're sent off to the slaughterhouse, which uses grain, and then they're fattened up with grains. It's not the same. These animals are not made to eat grains. So do not eat those. Now, if you do choose to eat red meat, you just can't give it then very, very little, once a week at the most, and not a big old porterhouse. Make sure that it is like the longest lived countries, they use animal products as a condiment. Japan, they have so many centenarians, they use it as a condiment. It's not the meat with the vegetables, it's the vegetables with a little bit of meat. And they don't really have red meat, but that's what I'm going to say about that. If you can let animal products go, if you are sick, if you have cancer, you have autoimmune disease, especially cancer, no animal products until you recover. Focus on green drinks, green juices, and things like that. Focus on low glycemic foods when possible. If you know your A1C, that is excellent. Ask your doctor to check your A1C, please, please, please. Your fasting glucose varies so much. It depends on what you ate last night, what you did this morning, what your life was like on your way to the doctor's. The fasting glucose doesn't really tell us anything. It's just one instant shot. Your hemoglobin A1C shows your blood sugar, your trends from the last 3 months. That number shows you what your average has been over the last 3 months. That is a much better indicator. Get to know about hemoglobin A1C. If you have any sort of blood sugar imbalances, you struggle with blood sugar, you're a sugar junkie, that you get hangry, things like that, then make sure you're choosing low glycemic foods, low glycemic fruits. You can Google them. Dr. Furman, he preaches that as well. That's a great resource. Dr. Christopher, and those of you know, I went to the School of Natural Healing. Dr. Christopher recommends a mucusless diet. That is a His was vegetarian. It was before the pasteurized dairy, but focused on fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. That is what we need to focus on if you're suffering from some chronic condition. For your bone health, looking at things like minerals, sea vegetables, incorporating sea vegetables. We don't eat a lot of those here, especially where I am in Middle Georgia. But buying seaweed snacks, check the ingredients, check how they were made, check the source. We want to make sure that they're not harvested from contaminated waters. That's very important. But if you can do some sort of sea vegetables, I like to buy the dulse or kelp flakes. I buy the sea salt that has sea vegetables in it. Those are great ways to add more minerals, as well as green juices, green smoothies. You can get lots of minerals in your greens. Those minerals are important for our bones, and an alkaline rich diet. I have articles on that too. We want to make sure we're not eating an acidic diet, which would be from the dairies and the red meats, heated oils, French fries, chips, crackers, cakes. All of those things are harmful to our bones. We need to remove those. We need to eat fermented foods. Now, there are some people who struggle with histamines and they have trouble with certain fermented foods. Make sure you work with a practitioner for that. But you can make your own, start to say probiotics. You can use probiotics to make your own yogurts. I do like to make a cashew hemp seed yogurt. Some people make coconut yogurt. I haven't been very successful with that. I have some videos making soy milk yogurt straight from the carton. How easy is that? And then eating, special things. I do think anyone who has a chronic condition should absolutely be gluten-free. Do the best you can at removing gluten. And you can't, if you are gluten-free, you can't just have it occasionally. It can take up to 6 months to repair damage from gluten. And so a lot of people will give it up. They say, I gave it up for a week and I didn't feel any better. For me, I gave it up. My doctor kept insisting gluten had nothing to do with it. I gave it up for a month, went back and my blood work hadn't changed. So then I was like, it wasn't the gluten. And then when I went to my new doctor who told me you have to go gluten-free, that was when everything turned around. And so I just didn't give it long enough that first month. You have to give it up for at least 6 months, especially if you have autoimmune or cancer. And nightshades. Nightshades can be an issue for some people. If you suffer with any kind of pain, joint pain, muscle pain, any of those, nightshades are usually, they can be a part of the problem. Not for everybody, just for certain people. That would be your peppers, bell peppers. That could be potatoes. That could be tomatoes. And especially here we are coming into summer, those are going to be really difficult to give up. So you may want to test them now before we get to the summer months. But just remove them from your diet for a minimum of 4 days and then test one of them. If you think that potatoes may be the culprit, or you want to make sure that potatoes are not, because you're like me and I'm the bubble gump of potatoes, remove them for a week and then eat potatoes. We eat some, a little bit for breakfast, a little bit at dinner, the next day, have them again, have a baked potato for lunch. You just want to test it for 3 days before you make sure, okay, that was okay. Now, that being said, if you struggle with blood sugar, potato may not be the best thing for you anyway. So maybe it doesn't affect your pain or anything like that, but it may affect your blood sugar. So tomatoes, do the same thing. Take them out of your diet for an entire week. Don't test two things at the same time because you won't know if it was A or B. So just make sure that you are taking them out of your diet and then slowly introducing them to your diet. A lot of people ask about oxalates. Oxalates. That's a big thing right now. So oxalates are in a lot of our greens, spinaches, certain types of kale. They are in chia seeds, things like that. You still can eat those foods. We should, if you're healthy, you should have Oxalobacter formigenes, which is a bacteria in the microbiome that helps break down oxalates so that you can absorb those minerals. So when you are healthy, we know that you have that, you remove it. And some people, even when you have a chronic condition, you can still have it and it removes it. But you may be lacking it. If you're lacking it, then you want to increase it. And the way you increase it is eating your fermented foods. So lots of variety with fermented foods, lots of colors. That's going to help you with your microbiome. Also, if you do think you struggle with oxalates, maybe you have gritty eyes in the morning, like sand in your eyes. I have had that. Burning when you urinate. You can feel almost as sandy when you urinate. I get that when I juice beets. So I know I can't juice beets, right? But I don't have any problems with spinach. I don't have any problems with different types of kale. I don't have any problems with chia seeds. And so it just depends on you. And so don't rule it all out. The other thing is you don't want to go from a high oxalate diet to a no oxalate diet, because then you can get what's called oxalate dumping, and it can actually get worse. All of a sudden you can really have a lot of grit in your eyes, a lot around your urinary tract, even some tearing from that. It's very, very gritty. So don't go from a high oxalate diet to low. You have to gradually reduce. You can use apps like Chronometer to track that. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about as far as diet goes. I will check and make sure there aren't any other questions. In the Facebook group, I am not seeing any. So if anything pops up, please comment. I love, love, love to hear from you. I'm not hearing from you. Some people message me in Messenger, and that's fine too. I don't always get back to you, but I will always come and answer the question. Anyway, I hope you all have a fabulous week. I look forward to hearing from you.